Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. All right, guys. It is, oh, that's way too loud, Tuesday. Yesterday, pretty wild day. But actually maybe showing some signs of like things cooling off. I don't know. Today, things seem a little bit too quiet. You know? Maybe, you know, it's because everybody was waiting on Iran to attack Israel again and like nothing happened. So maybe we're still waiting. Let's go and look to the charts. So, where should we go? Well, let's just start the way that we usually do. Here's the treasuries. So, yeah, there was some initial buying at the beginning of the day, but then throughout most of the session we sold. And something that I noticed in particular that I'm not seeing people talk about, very, very, very important. I was seeing selling going into the bill auctions. There was a bill auction. We have, let's see here. Let me double check here. We have 52-week auction and 3-year auction today. So I think that we will get some more signs from that. Some people are saying that it's a difference between pricing if the Federal Reserve will do double cuts and perhaps the economic data that we saw yesterday does not justify, 50 basis point cuts. But I'm concerned that with this carry trade going through, that means less end demand for U.S. Treasuries in the end. We'll see. We can talk about that maybe a little bit. Perhaps we can try doing some calculations here. Okay, so here's the S&P 500. So there was, a little bit of a recovery yesterday. And if we go to the daily chart, by the way, note that we went to the 200-day moving average and then kind of were saved from it. Okay, it's very common for like times of volatility to come down to that 200-day moving average and kind of chill around there. And then when things are okay, go back up. All right. Oil rising a little bit overnight from some positive comments from the Aramco president saying that they're projecting demand will improve and that demand from China in particular is going to improve in the coming months. But it looks like they've given up most of those gains since then. So, gold and silver, I'm a little concerned about these ones because I would have thought that gold and silver would have been up with everything else, but they did not. They're being treated like a risk asset and being dumped along with everything else. I don't know. We're going to want to watch that one pretty careful to kind of figure out what's going on with our macroeconomic framework, though. Copper is still looking kind of weak. So I don't know what they're saying about over in oil that demand, because I'm not seeing it in copper. And then we got the 6J. 6J cooling off significantly from yesterday, and the dollar coming back out around 102.85, which is not that terrible. Oh my. So let's see here. We did have the bottom of the hour news. U.S. trade balance negative 73.1 versus an expected 72.5. Treasuries are up a little bit from that. I'm not sure if that's what it is. Justin Wolfer, is worth noting the market meltdown came because the Fed didn't cut rates by a quarter point last week, but the 10-year yield has since fallen by more than a quarter point, a bigger easing than you typically get from a Fed rate cut. Okay. Well, anyways, good morning, Octavius, Jake, Namrus, Octavius, hey, Paul, everybody here bright and early. Thank you very much. I thought I had a pretty decent start this time. At least I had the music going. It wasn't the worst start. I'm wondering. So here's the thing that I was wondering yesterday. Say I'm doing a carry trade with the U.S. Treasuries. So I go and I offer bonds in Japan, or I sell bonds in Japan, and then I take that money that I borrowed and I move it over to the United States and I buy U.S. Treasuries. And so if, let's say that my rate for borrowing in Japan is 0, just to make calculations easy. So if my rate for borrowing is 0, and then I come over here to the US and my rate for borrowing for a year, let's just say, for the sake of argument, I know these aren't the exact numbers, but let's say that it's 5%. Okay. Then feasibly for let's just hold it for a year. Okay, so we hold it for a year. In that situation, I'm going to pocket the 5%, right? But the risk to the trade, the thing that I will lose money on the trade from, is the exchange rate, right? If the cost, if the currency that I'm borrowing in appreciates, then it will cost me more in relative dollar terms to pay back the loan that I took out. So I have to take the exchange rate out of my profits, right? So if I made 5%, how much does the Japanese yen have to move to wipe out my profits? And I don't think that it's exactly 5%, but then I think that the Japanese yen has moved more than 5% here, right? So maybe that is correct. Maybe it's just 5%. It's like that they start losing money when the currency has appreciated more than the difference in interest rates or a return that you were pocketing. Is that what it is? And maybe that then could give you some levels, like key levels of the Japanese yen to look at. That would be like, here's where things start kind of falling apart. It's like, here's the guys that are doing it by buying US equities and they're getting 7% and they're underwater, versus here's the guys that are doing with treasuries and they're underwater. You know what I mean? Okay, well, so thinking about the treasuries here this morning, book is still pretty thin. It's not as bad as it was yesterday, but it's still pretty bad. It looks like, especially immediately around, that they're a little bit weary. There was that little bit of a rise. I don't know if that was because of the trade imbalance news or what, but it is giving it back. See, the whole issue here, I'm starting to think, okay, well, for one, we may already be past the worst. You know, it may just have been, oh, okay, the carry trade blew up, but nobody died or anything, and it's okay. And we just move on from here, and it's not a huge deal, right? I think at this point, I'm kind of waiting for a shoe to drop. But at the same time, I'm also hearing people say that waiting for central bank intervention as well. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Treasuries, they sold yesterday. So was that selling just the the risk coming out of the market? Like, okay, we had the big blow up, everything's fine now, so we can sell volatility again, and things just did their pullbacks and everything's fine. Is that why the treasuries came back so hard yesterday? Or is it a little bit more sinister than that? Is it that the auctions in particular didn't have a whole lot of demand, and so they had to give back a lot of those gains because of that? Because if we start to have big problems with the auctions, right, the Treasury is offering more bonds than ever, essentially, and if the foreign demand for it dries up because the carry trades are falling apart, then that presents a real problem for the market, because now all of a sudden, the one safe haven, the one asset that is basically designed to go up in times of crisis, is not going up in a time of crisis. That would be a big, big problem. So that's why that kind of, what was it yesterday is really, really important. I don't really see a whole lot of people talking about it yet. But now that I've said something, you'll hear about it probably. Let's hear. If you borrowed money and threw it into Nvidia, you would have been a genius. Yeah, assuming that you got out on time. Well, I guess you'd still be a genius. You'd still be making money on Nvidia, right? But they are getting hammered. You know what, though? On Nvidia, I should know. Let's just pull them up here really quick. That Nvidia is not just getting hammered because of the larger macroeconomic moves and all of that. There is some specific news in Nvidia that is hurting them. They have a AI chip in the works that is expected to bring a lot of money, and it has been delayed. And so that is part of why Nvidia is getting hammered so much. Well, Nvidia back into this range from here, right? So I guess we'll see how things go for Nvidia over the next week. I was kind of thinking, like, okay, this rise was insane. Now it needs to take a break. And I remember saying that, like, I think that Nvidia needs to take a break for a little while. I thought that the break was going to be a little bit longer than this. And then it goes up again like crazy. And I kind of thought, this right here, that's like, was a little sus. Like, that seems to me like just performance chasing, So it doesn't surprise me to see them give it back. It doesn't surprise me to see them give it back. It's just like, orders are what drives markets, and it's, valuations are one thing that will drive orders. It's not the biggest or most important, but it's one thing that will drive orders. So if maybe we come back to a more reasonable valuation, and this would be one spot, this would be like one valuation, and this would maybe be another valuation. See what people think. See how the demand for that changes. Another issue that we should consider, okay, is that all of the CTA midterm triggers have been hit now. So there's a couple $1 billion worth of selling that is likely to occur here from the systematic traders over the next few days. Now, from my own research on momentum, the momentum strategy hasn't been working so well lately. So I don't think that that's necessarily means you should take a swing trade short. But for us scalping, I think that we need to be on the lookout for these selling flows in ES, right? Well, I'm still seeing the treasuries move around quite a bit, but the flows are actually pretty weak at the moment. Like, I'm not actually seeing a strong flow come into the treasuries. If anything, I'm seeing a little bit of a meta order sell in the 5-year. So, trying to be focus. I want to be taking some trades. This is sometimes it's too volatile for me to take a trade, but even if it's too volatile, I don't want to tune out of the market when it's volatile. I still want to be engaged in it, even if I don't take trades. So I gotta pay attention. I don't want to get too off track on politics or anything. I was thinking about this on my vacation. I was like, it would be really nice if I had the time to stream twice or something, and I could stream after the market closes, and then spend a little bit more time talking about which stocks moved that day and talking about the political stuff. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. So let's see here. So, hi, Seth. It seems in the alert column on your Jigsaw, you have open yellow lines feature. which version do you have? Because I don't have that. Oh, okay. So it's not in the alert column. It's in the volume profile column. I'm using the latest version of Jigsaw. It's 4021. And to see if you have this feature, you go into settings, appearance, volume profile, and then there should be these checkpoints for value area, I believe. Oh, no, it's not value area. It's opening range down here. Opening range. That's what it is. Octavius noting that the 2s are at the highs and the UB is at the lows. Oh, good catch. I wasn't even paying attention that we are steepening out a ton at the moment. In fact, I am seeing like straight out selling in ZB and buying in the 5-year. Yeah, in fact, look over here. See, so there's kind of like I was saying, there's maybe a meta order sell in the 5-year, but we're actually going up. I don't know what's with that. So I said buying in the 5-year. Maybe that's not accurate. Okay, but then over here in ZB, a pretty strong sell over there on that side. Okay, so steepening, but the steepening is coming mostly from the 30-year getting pushed down and the other ones not moving as much. Well, I would think that steepening overall would be bullish for the outrights. I think I still want to see some flows and or like some sort of a headline. I think well, I don't necessarily have to hear the headline, but I think I need to see something that makes me think that there's a headline. Because I think that we're in a situation where a lot of people are waiting for another shoe to drop, right? How to buy a small business with no money down. You know what I really want to do? It's this idea, like business idea, that keeps coming to me. But then I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'd make that work. I want to run a laundromat. Not just a laundromat, like a laundromat with like a pickup service. You know what I mean? Like you order them to do your laundry and they come by and put it in a bag and pick it up and everything and take it and then deliver it back to you. Full service. You know, you could come down to the laundromat and do it that way too. And it would be a little bit cheaper, but they'd have a pickup service. That seems like a value. I would, you know, like I would pay for that. I think there's a lot of people in my area that would pay for that. I don't think that that's a service that's really common in my area. But then, well, that's a dry cleaner. Is that what that is? Oh, okay, maybe. So there's this place. Wow, maybe you're right. Maybe it is just a dry cleaner. Okay, so there's this place near me that used to be a dry cleaners, and then it changed, and now it's like been split up, and there's like a tiny little store that does audio mods for cars, and then the other side of it was like an ice cream parlor, and the building is up for rent again, and I'm like, maybe I should start a laundromat there. Except for that is like, well, but a laundromat's probably not quite right, because there's probably not a lot of people in my area that don't have their own washer and dryer. You know? Yeah, a laundromat is turnkey. You just set it and forget it. Come to pick up the monies and maintain the equipment. Stock your vending machines. Laundromats are good for poor areas. Yeah. And it's not like, I feel that my city, one of the things I've noticed is that for a city to have longevity, you kind of need a mix, right? If the area becomes too gentrified, of course, there's like that super high level, like the upper class neighborhoods. Okay, those can just go on forever. But like if you have a middle class, middle upper class neighborhood, and it's just nothing but that, what happens is the middle upper class people keep their house forever, and then they die or whatever, and they sell it, and the house is older at that point. Nobody, newer rich people, new upper middle class people want a new house, and so like the neighborhood's value just like slowly comes down the totem pole. And then you start to get people in the neighborhood that don't take care of the yard and all of these sorts of things. And then all of a sudden, after like 20 years, you're in the ghetto or something. So I remember the neighborhood I lived in when I was like 5. I go over there now and it's like ghetto. So like you kind of need a little bit of a mix so that there's like, there's something for everybody, so that like when the kids grow up, they have a place nearby to live too, right? So I feel like that my city has that. There's a good mix, but they're houses. They're mostly houses. There's not a lot of apartments that would not have washer and dryer hookups in them. Landlords don't provide them with appliances. Yeah, I don't think there's very many people renting houses out either. When your neighborhood starts to creep past 50% units being... do they really get up that high? I had not heard about that before, but that seems to make a lot of sense. But you can have a laundromat that also has pickup services. But maybe for my purposes, maybe for my area, dry cleaner makes more sense. Yeah. But then the next question is the space suitable for a dry cleaner, and how much do they want? How much does the landlord want? I couldn't think that it would be that much, especially since like the ice cream place that went there, didn't do very well. It wasn't in a place where you'd expect people to go for food. It's kind of zoned weird. It's kind of in a spot where like there was a commercial area there, and most of it has been changed into housing, and so there's still a couple of places left that are still zoned that way though. You had to find the areas where the government tends to dump the illegals, and they use the ever-living crap out of laundromats. Yeah. Wacatia, where's that? Eldorado asks if anyone is shorting treasuries. I'm still unattached. Still unattached. You know what? We never did the notes. Let's just take notes here a little bit, and then we can continue talking about laundromats. I mean, one of the things is if I really want to run a laundromat, I could do it, not in my area. I could go and do it in Salt Lake, where there's more apartments and stuff, right? Okay, no, what was this? MV today.md 2024-07-26.md, I think. low liquidity, and then 3-year auction. I don't have a whole lot of macro news today. We do have some stuff later this week, though, don't we? Let's see here. Oh, it's pretty weak. So I'm gonna say fairly light news week. Possible Iran attack. So waiting for a good strong flow to go with and jump on board. Problem being, though, that so far all of the flows that I'm seeing seem to be sell, and we are jumping up. In fact, the 5-year just saw like some huge icebergs busted through. That's curious. The car wash game is pretty strong too. When that got big on the internet as a side hustle, they started building them every couple of blocks around here. You know, I don't think that that one would make sense for me. Let's see here. So here's kind of my area. Yeah, there's one commercial development over here, and then there's one over here, and that's the major kind of thing. And this one up here is really nice too. It's like you can buy a subscription to the car wash place, and it's like one of those really nice ones with like tons of stages in their wash, and then people that do stuff afterwards and stuff. If your area is super progressive and they're upping the you'll own nothing. Well, I don't think that my area is super progressive. So like my area is a little bit unique in that respect. So yeah, you're gonna pull up a map again, and let me explain to you Salt Lake City. Let me explain to you Salt Lake City. And I think that we want to look at it with satellites. Okay, so here's the thing. The Salt Lake City metropolitan area is actually way bigger than you would expect. Because everything is situated in this oblong valley, you basically have non-stop suburban development from here to here. That whole thing is the Salt Lake City metropolitan area. So there's Provo down here, includes Provo, and then you have Ogden up on the other side. Okay, and then there's Salt Lake City proper. Now, when you get into Salt Lake City proper, the way that it tends to work, make this a little taller. The way that it works is essentially here's I-15, right? This stuff over here tends to be rich, and this side over here not so rich. Okay, this area kind of like around here-ish. These are you know, immigrants essentially. There's a lot more Hispanic people in this area-ish, right? And then you've kind of got these little pockets like over here, and over here that are kind of like fairly rich areas, right? And then you got this-ish area. This is where the liberal snobs live. you know, like the really irritating, super rich people that only shop at Whole Foods and vote hyper liberal, right? That's where they live. Oh, and the home values are like way inflated. In particular, like you're paying a ton. You're paying like millions of dollars for these houses, but like they're not very big, right? This is like the density area. Okay. And by the way, from here to here, it's maybe like 30 minutes. That's kind of an important part, right? Because people are willing to drive like 40 up to 45 minutes away, right? So, if you've got a job downtown, you're going to be willing to live literally anywhere around here. Okay. Now, the problem though, again, is that it's like the density, right? Like you start paying a ton and you don't get a whole lot for it. So people don't like that. So that's when you zoom out and you get Alpine and Davis County, essentially. Actually, I could probably zoom out a little bit even further and include all of Davis County. All of Davis County is like from there, I would say. So Bountiful, Centerville, Layton. And then over here you got Lehigh or Alpine. Okay, so this area down here, this is really, really rich. This is where you're going to find $2 million houses because the state put a lot of effort into attracting a tech sector down in here. This is like mini Silicon Valley. It's like cheap Silicon Valley. So it's like tech heavy, but costs a lot less. So a lot of companies have been like moving and hiring more people down in here because they get the same kind of technical expertise without the cost of Silicon Valley, yada, 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 right? Okay. When you get into Provo, this is just kind of normal area because most of that is people that went to the college there and just kind of stayed down in Provo. Okay. And then you've got my area, which is kind of, it's not tech heavy or anything, but my area is just like, it's only 30 minutes. So you still live up here and just commute to Salt Lake City, right? So these areas are like where the people that have lived in Utah all their life tend to live, right? And the people that have lived in Utah all their life are extremely conservative, right? So I live in an area that is extremely unique in that respect because you have fairly decent middle class and upper middle class areas. So, I mean, there are lower class areas for people to live, but it's pre-mixed. But there, especially up on when you get up towards the mountain, there's some really, really nice houses, especially up by this golf course. I found this one house that I think might be the biggest house in Utah. It's not on the map yet, and it's got to be a billionaire's house. It's just insanely big house. But I digress. So you have fairly wealthy people that are still extremely conservative. This area, my area, is still like 80% Mormon in my area. As opposed to Salt Lake City, where Mormons are maybe the minority in many cases. Right? Oh, so I didn't hear. I've been going on that whole big long thing. Tim Walz selected as Harris VP. Okay, what's the pulse here? Including as life and money gets harder, once people's washing machines start breaking, they won't have the money to replace or repair. So the laundromat, I think it worked. Laundromats and car washes follow. The life as a subscription direction everyone seems to be taking. For instance, those fancy car washes put the old time to do-it-yourself car wash in my area, so now we have no choice but to use these expensive car washes. Now, Octavia says he dated a girl from Bountiful. Some good-looking people in Davis County, I tell you what. Some pretty good-looking people in Davis County. People from LA would probably disagree, but... Hey, you know what? I need to roll my back out. I'll be right back. Oops. Okay, so Uzi says Waltz makes sense because of the George Floyd riots and centralization of the Hamas votes. And I'm like, what does Tim Walz have to do with that? But then I look him up. He's the governor of Minnesota, where all of those things have been happening. Okay, that made me make sense. There's kind of been like a little silent coup in the Democrat Party over the past week that people haven't noticed. Because a lot of people thought that it would be Shapiro. She wasn't going to pick the Jewish guy. Yeah, exactly. Dude, it's so messed up, right? Like Shapiro was the front runner, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, by the way, he served in the Israeli army, right? And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, there's no chance. So like, here's the thing. Let me come back to a map here, and make my map a little bit equalized. Okay. So the swing states that you've got right now: Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Okay. And where the Democrats have traditionally had an advantage is in these Rust Belt states up here: Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. So you expect these to go blue. And last election, they did all go blue. These all went blue, and Georgia went blue, and Arizona went blue. Okay. The latest polling that we have, and I've kind of moved it into like no leaners. Okay. I've already adjusted this map into no leaners. Okay. And if you look at the current polling though, and you kind of game out how things are going and everything, I think that Nevada is likely to go blue. Okay. I think that Nevada is likely to go blue, and Wisconsin is likely to go blue as well. Okay. But you'll notice as I switch those over that basically Harris has to get both of these, right? If I put this blue, if I put that blue, that's not enough. If I put that blue, then oh, she's not 270 quite there. But then it's probably one of these moves over like that. If I move that to a dark blue. Okay, there you go. Now she's got it. Now she's got 270. Okay. So she needs to win both of those. Versus Donald Trump. Donald Trump just has to win Pennsylvania. And he's essentially there. 266. Okay. In Arizona, let's say. Right. So that was why Shapiro was like a favorite to be picked as VP, because he's pretty well liked in Pennsylvania, apparently. But then they found out that he was Israeli and like actually served in the Israeli military for a while and everything. And then that was like an absolutely no. That, and there was like also a scandal too. So like there was kind of like a soft coup, like headlines coming out specifically to prevent him from becoming the VP pick. That was kind of interesting. Okay, Kamala Harris's whole campaign is built on a foundation of race and gender-based politics because there's literally nothing else to her. So they have to go really hard on race and gender. I agree. I really don't like what's going on because, you know, like I was saying yesterday, when your biggest advantage is your demographics, then it basically turns into the biggest target for your opponents. So this whole thing about like questioning whether Kamala Harris is black, she is black, just to be clear. She is black. She's about 33% black, but like does it matter what percent black she is or she isn't? Not really. Okay, it doesn't really matter. But if that's her strength, the biggest way to, you know, tear her down is going to be to attack that strength and question her blackness. And you know, a Donald Trump, I didn't feel like Donald Trump was explicitly saying she's not black as much as he was just kind of like, you know, slide it in there, get people talking about it, get people to doubt it, you know. Donald Trump doesn't necessarily have to say it because there are black Republicans that are saying it quite strongly. I tell you what, I know on TikTok, I am on black conservative TikTok, and there's a lot of black conservatives out there talking about this and saying that they really don't feel that Kamala Harris is part of their community, right? And I think that it's really toxic politics and everything, but it is a consequence of the candidate that you chose. That like if that's the only thing that the candidate really has going for them, then you can't be surprised when that becomes a big discussion point in the campaign, as unsavory as it is. Yeah, and they know that normie whites are gonna turn away from the Republican strategy to mitigate the only defining issue being race and gender. Maybe. But I would argue, with the news essentially calling black Republicans, oh yeah, I'm not going to say that one. I would still argue, though, that the combination of Kamala Harris being so unpopular, like unlikable as a person, and so extreme in her political position, combined with the entire situation with replacing the nominee at the last second and not having gone through the primary process and all of that, I really don't think that she can win. I really don't think that the demographics are going to put her over the top. Like, demographics will work in, like, if you bring out, if you do all of the you know, the canvassing, or what do we call it? Ballot harvesting, right? If you're able to ballot harvest in all of the areas and all of that sort of a thing. And then the demographics can really help you because, you know, it's pretty easy. I need more votes for Kamala Harris. Okay, it's really easy. I just go to the black areas, right? But one, I don't think that the ballot harvesting is enough to make the difference that we're seeing right now. And two, is that if you're not getting like the maximum ballot harvesting, those people aren't going to come out and vote for her, right? Those voters are not going to be highly engaged voters that are extremely likely to show up on election day and all of that sort of a thing. So like, in other words, Democrats kind of start from a disadvantage because their voters are going to be so disengaged. They're kind of getting a little bit of a boost because they got a new nominee, but like as it gets closer, I'm telling you, people sour on her. They're not going to turn up for her. And another big one, like think about it this way, okay? Last election, you had all of the policies that were in place because of COVID, and you had the youth vote that came out very strongly for Biden, and he barely won. Really, he barely won. I mean, like, I know you look at the electoral vote, because he got Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, it really looked like, wow, Joe Biden just absolutely destroyed the Republicans. But the margin that was between, you know, Trump and Biden was like super tiny, like only a few thousand votes in some areas, right? So he only barely won. You're not going to have the same as favorable of laws. You're probably not going to see as high of a turnout. The youth vote's probably not going to turn up for Kamala Harris. You underestimate the power of the cheat, maybe. I think that the difference between my view of this and the way that you guys are probably thinking, you guys, I don't like terminology, but I think the difference is you think of it as there's a cheat. Like I can do everything in my power to make the result come out the way that I want. But what I see the cheat as is actually more a set of rules and systems and so forth that allow you to have a certain advantage. So the cheat is only so much. They can only get so much out of the cheat. And from where I'm standing, the margin by which Donald Trump will be ahead is more larger than the cheat. I did see that whole thing about ballot harvesting in Michigan or something like that, though. In Illinois, it can confirm many illegals voting. Well, so that's where I kind of, like, here's what I think is going to happen. I think that Kamala Harris is going to take Michigan, and I think that she's going to take Arizona. But Donald Trump is going to take, so let's take some of these leaners out. I'm missing one. New Hampshire, that should be dark blue. Blue. I had it different. I'm not quite sure where my difference is. But basically, I was seeing it as Donald Trump will take Pennsylvania and win because of that. Why do you think she will take Arizona? Okay, so I guess I wasn't necessarily trying to say my prediction is that Kamala Harris will win Arizona, but rather if there is like shenanigans and so forth, I think that it will be stronger in Arizona. I'm kind of concerned about some of the things that I saw in Arizona last, like the place where Donald Trump was expected to do the best. They had like long lines. The people weren't all able to vote. Like there's some voter suppression there. And then if there are going to be illegal aliens voting in the federal election, there's probably going to be a lot more of them in Arizona. So that's where I was saying, like, for your guys' like scenario where there's the steal, Like the best case scenario that you're looking at is like basically this right here. I think I screwed up with one of these kind of like districts. Because isn't it that this district 3 or well, how come it's 3? I mean, I think that one of these districts tends to go Republican, right? I think it's like that. And then what's the other one that's holding it back from? Oh, Alaska. There you go. That's what I think. I think they win with it. Trump's campaign is incredibly weak right now too. I don't know. I think that our view of the Trump campaign is probably like way too distorted by the media in order to get a really good picture of it. So just as an example, one of the things that I saw a lot of discussion about while I was on vacation was that day when, you know, Donald Trump went to the Black Media conference event, whatever. And he said those things where the big headline that came out of it was that he was questioning Kamala Harris's blackness, right? And so all of the Republicans were like, well, this is not what we want our campaign to be focused on. This is a distraction, yada, 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 right? But the thing is that he said like one kind of thing about it in response to a question that he was asked, when he was asked specifically about it. The whole rest of the time that he talked about was basically about Kamala Harris and her insane positions in the past, right? So I think Donald Trump is actually talking about the right thing, right? It's just he's not getting the unearned media, right? He's not getting the tons of people talking about it on X and you know, right? Because the astroturfing on the Democrat side is like so crazy right now that you just can't get away from it, right? And I think that that's giving Republicans a really distorted view of how things are going. Like, you know, when you go into the polling, it really looks like with Kamala having all of those advantages and stuff, she's still not getting enough to beat Trump. And those polls are probably all going to be underestimating, or rather, they're all going to be overestimating Democrat turnout. Like they're oversampling Democrats, essentially. They don't know how to get around the race and gender thing. Any and all criticism will be met with that shield, maybe. But Trump killed it at the conference. Well, I heard a lot of people that liked it, but the media narrative that came out of it, well, probably wasn't a good thing for the Trump campaign. It looks like there's still some buying here in the treasuries. I don't know. It is breaking out at the moment, but the action is still pretty messy. Anyways, Trump needs to go to Houston to shore up Texas. Probably not, but I had another thought, and I just can't remember what I was thinking about, where I wanted to pivot into. It's okay. Probably already talked too much politics. Well, I think you meant to say Texas isn't as red as you think. So there's a possibility of it going blue at some point, but not this election. D says first day back after the holidays, Ian moving like yes. Yeah, it's very illiquid still. Texas isn't as red as like it's not safe red. Like on the map. So let's come back over to here. And I reset map. You notice that Texas is light red, not dark red. But the chances of that going blue are practically nil. It would really take a huge. I kind of wonder where they set the line, why they set the line for leaners where it is. I think it's because, hey, in the time between now and election day, it could shift, you know. But like if the election were held today, given the current polling, 0% chance that Texas goes blue. But you notice, you know, the default map is pretty good, right? The default map, I can come in and I can say, okay, so make Nevada blue and Arizona blue and Wisconsin blue and Michigan blue. And it's still not enough. Whereas if I make Pennsylvania red and Georgia red, he's at 270 there. And we could change North Carolina as red as well. Right. But that's like, to me, that's like Kamala Harris' best case scenario. Right? In order for her to win, essentially, she has to take Pennsylvania. Right? That's the Kamala Harris win scenario. But I'm saying I don't think she can win all three of those. And kind of the issue is that it might kind of snowball either way. Like, the most likely scenarios are probably either this or, you know, if Trump does win, it's probably going to be more like he takes Pennsylvania and he takes Arizona. I still don't think he's going to take Nevada, though. Right. But we'll see. I'm experienced a little bit of soreness from my first workout yesterday since being back from vacation. Oh, and I had my elbow looked at too. Oh, I wish I had the picture to show you. I have like a bone spur in my elbow, and apparently when I maxed out, it was enough to fracture the bone spur. So like the bone spur fractured off and is already like re-healed back on. So I guess we're going to get surgery to take it out. Speaking of soreness, upper back muscle knots are now the worst thing on earth next to lung cancer. That's probably going to kill me. Oh. So it depends on where it is. So I think the thing that will really kill you the most, like, it really just makes life unbearable. Like it's really hard to focus and get work done when your traps are flaring up. When your traps are flaring up. Because your traps go up your neck and all the way down your back, right? And it will tend to like pull your head down. So like you can't even look up. Yeah, that's really bad. Whereas if it's kind of more the things around your shoulders and stuff like that, those are hard to work out, but they're not as disruptive. And with those, you have to really. I think that the difficulty with those is that it's a really complicated set of muscles back there, you know? A really complicated set of muscles. And so, like, figuring out what I got to do to keep everything going good and everything is kind of tough. My wife was elbow dropping my shit last night, like WWE trying to kill those things. Yeah, you have to do a little bit of anatomy, work so that you can figure out which spots you need to hit. And even then, it's not necessarily going to be as simple as I just rub the muscle out and it relaxes and then it's fine. Because it's probably something like you did. So what do you think you did? What do you think you did that triggered it? What's this about? Instant hot and cold attachments for a massage? Oh, I've never heard of that before. So I'm seeing some increased amounts of activity in the treasuries here around the open of the S&P 500. We did end up breaking up to the upside, but I'm not seeing the volume follow it. Kind of looks to me like possibly currency correlations too. Gold had a little bit of a sell-off. I think I just slept wrong. Possible to tweak some stuff doing downward dog pose. Because, so like, if you sleep on it wrong and that muscle ends up being in tension all night, right? Then what happens is, you know, that muscle is sore just like a muscle is sore after a workout. And that can take, you know, like rubbing it out and everything doesn't really solve it, right? He just needs time. And in fact, so and I guess where I'm getting at with this is that if that is the problem, like you can totally do too much, right? Like you keep trying to crack your back and massage it over like all day and this sort of stuff, and you're actually just kind of like causing the inflammation to stick around. When really the most important thing that you need is like, you know, eat some good protein, get the minerals that you need, rest it really good. Don't sleep that way again, right? There's quantifiable knots versus like where massaging and so forth is going to help is when there's issues with the myofascia. So what happens is there's this layer called myofascia that encases the muscle, and it's kind of like taffy. And when you kind of overwork a muscle or you stress it in some way, the myofascia will harden up. Myofascia will harden, and that's where you kind of get the term knots from to some extent. And the problem is that when the myofascia hardens up, it can actually kind of leave the muscle in like slight tension all of the time. And so what you've got to do is roll out the myofascia so that, you know, it's not doing that anymore, essentially. But once you've repaired the myofascia, then it's down to the muscle recovering, and constantly trying to roll it out doesn't help you after that point, right? So how do you know that the myofascia is healed? Well, like the key thing is that the muscle will glide well. So like those muscles in the back, you can kind of like grab them and move them around. And they should glide over each other because there's like 3 muscles that all come together back there. They should be able to move around. And if they don't, then that's where you need to roll it and so forth. But to that point, you don't even necessarily need somebody to give you a massage. You just need like a good foam roller. Get them foam rollers with the spikes. You want this thing. The rumble roller. Oh, I love it. I know it looks like a torture device. Sounds painful, but your body adjusts to it very quickly. This gets the job done. You have those problems in your upper back. Because that's where I have it. Well, let's not call it upper back. Let's call it mid-upper back. Yeah. And then you do it with your arms like this, and then do it with your arms like this. To kind of like open the scapula. You do it like this. My office is a little prison cell for me. There you go. Because I've dealt with this all my life. Like, basically, when I was, I want to say 17, it was like, I woke up one day and I couldn't, like, I could barely even stand up. This is basically like this spot in my back, and it would kind of like translate all the way up and make my neck hurt too. And so like I stopped wrestling because of it. It was so painful. And it turned out that I have like a misshapen disc there. And so the rib doesn't want to sit in that joint very well, you know, and that's where you get subluxations. Is basically like there's something about the way that the joint is sitting in there that it doesn't like, and when they go and pop your back, that can kind of sometimes free it and make it work right. And so sometimes it can get enough inflammation that it just spreads throughout my whole back, right? But since that time, being super active, doing Olympic weightlifting, which does a lot of good work for your back, and the foam roller and proper diet and stuff. There's another one that will kill you. I'm gonna doubt that that's Uzi's problem, but that's another one that will kill you. Is like you're not getting enough magnesium, or is in particular. Magnesium is the most common nutritional deficiency, and it can exacerbate those kinds of muscle problems. So the Treasury's came back here a little bit. This is very, very curious action. It doesn't feel to me like there is actually a strong meta order out there. I think that there's got to be some people hedging for the auction, and I am again still concerned that it would be a sell for the auction, that the auction's not going to be very good. But if it's out there, you're not able to tell from the flow. There's just too much noise. I think that I'm just seeing like the liquidity is so light that anybody so much as sneezes, it kind of moves the market. And so we can't really read the order flow. It's just noise. But that's not really reading the order flow because there's not something super strong to read anyways. And it's probably better to wait for a strong flow, strong informed flow. I'm like 80% bad sleep and 20% I did yoga pose wrong. Well, another thing is I have a sleep number bed And I really like the Sleep Number bed. So that's actually, I totally forgot about this, but you know, we went to Grandma's house last week on vacation. That's what we did. So nothing interesting to report. This is just Grandma's house, and you know, the kids go and play in the pool, and I watch Asher and try to read, but probably fall asleep. It's basically what it was. I did get the Python thing done though. That was the important thing. Got that done right at the beginning. I was like, oh yes, okay, this is a successful trip just because of that. Now I can relax. First night was bad, and I woke up and my neck was just terrible. It wasn't the worst, but it was like, okay. It was kind of weird because like I was in the shower, it seemed like it was fine, and then it wasn't until I got out of the shower that it started to hurt. So it was like, okay, this is probably a little bit tired. Oh, you know what else really helps me? And I fought this for such a long time, really did. But ibuprofen, man. Because especially if it's like tensed up and it's still staying tensed, right? The ibuprofen is enough to bring the inflammation down so that the muscle relaxes and can actually heal, right? And so it doesn't make it go away. It's not so much about the relief as it is, it helps it go way faster, right? Like if without the ibuprofen, it could take me a week or more to really get back to like, you know, 100%. Whereas if I take the ibuprofen, it's like 3 days. It's just like a regular workout recovery, right? And then from that point, it's just, oh, that muscle just got overworked. It needs to get strengthened. And then after 3 days, it's fine. And then you're a little bit stronger too. But I don't have so much problem with the bed because I have a Sleep Number bed, and I tell you what, man, I always come into the like, oh, the capitalism, the way that our modern consumerist society works is really quite devious, I think, because I kind of come into this spot where it's like, you know what, all of the things that I really think that I need to have to like work at 100% and everything, I really think I've done them. Yeah, I think I'm in a pretty good spot. Yeah, there's some things that I would like that would maybe be a little bit nicer. Like I would like to be in a little bit larger of a house. So we're, you know, we had one more child than we had originally planned, and there's just not quite enough space for things. But I don't need to do that. It would probably be just fine staying here for the rest of our lives, right? Okay, but they always find some way to tempt you to spend money that you don't necessarily have to, right? And so one of the ones that's really, really gnawing at me is the bed, because I've had the bed for since I'd want to say 2016. I think we've had it since 2016. So it's been a long time. And so now Sleep Number is starting to send me a lot of stuff. They're like, this guy is the prime candidate to buy one of our beds now, because it's been long enough. And like, I'm tempted, it's like, okay, yeah, it would be nice to have the one that has the active heating and cooling now. And I would definitely like to have one that, allows the mattress to like sit up or put your feet up and stuff like that. That would be really nice too. And so they send me coupons like 50% off. I mean, they're sending me 50% off coupons. The Sleep Number. and my first thought is always like, oh, I really would like to replace the bed. Yeah, I think the next major purchase that we need to get is a third car. So I'm going to save my extra income for that. But maybe after I'm done with that, new bed, right? But then my second thought is 50%. How much margin are they actually charging me on this thing? What is their actual cost on that bed? Because 50%, that's a little bit like, that's a lot. We had a sleep number bed for a really long time. Yeah, it's not going yet. That's for sure. You know, maybe a child will jump on it hard enough to break it, but it seems to be doing just fine. Beds with active heating and cooling. I'm so poor and unknowledgeable of the nicer things. Well, well, okay. How much is it? I think it's like $8,000 for the i10 with the heating and cooling. But the reason why it's a thing isn't like, wow, this is such a huge luxury. Like only a rich person would want something that actually has active heating and cooling. But actually what happens is a sleep number bed is an air bed, essentially. So it has chambers in it that fill up with air, and the amount of air that you fill it up with determines how firm the mattress is, essentially. So it's like an air bladder with foam on top of it. This is essentially what a sleep number bed is. And the problem with that is that air is a really good insulator. And so it's really common for people to feel too hot on a sleep number bed. That's why they started making beds with active heating and cooling into them. So. You know, the cheap Walmart air mattress you sleep on when you visit relatives, it's a fancy version of that. Man, the mattress I slept in at my in-laws' house, though, was like, ugh. Because like when you lay on it, it's soft because there's like a certain amount of cushion on it that's really soft, but then below that, there's like nothing. And so like, especially lower back support, there was like none. So like, if I slept on my back, my lower back would hurt. But then if I slept on my side, my upper back would hurt. So yeah, I felt a lot better once I was able to get home and sleep a night or two on my bed. I got a ghost bed. I really liked the sleep number bed, though. I really feel like it was a worthwhile purchase. Like the thing about the sleep number bed is the adjustability. If I'm asleep on my back, I want it harder than if I sleep on my side. And if I've been working out, it tends to be better to make it a little bit softer. So like you can adjust it based on your body, and that actually makes a big difference. Do we come back up here again? Well, I'm starting to see a little bit of a trend showing in the 10-year, but not in the 5. I could probably justify a long here at 27. I don't know if that would be like a good price per se, but you know, the last few bars really have come out on the long side in the Treasury. So I think I could perhaps justify trades now. I don't really like the spot. Maybe if I got a fill at 25. Now, you know what? Since I didn't do very well yesterday, I'm going to start with the sim trades here. Put one at 25. See if that gets filled. Kind of dip my feet in the water, see what's going on here. How hard is it to get that order at 25 filled? I think given that it is a VWAP and everything, that it should trade fairly easily. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now how did they go through me? How far did they go through me? You know, if I want to buy a laundromat, I guess what I really need to do is go to see if I can buy somebody else's. Go buy somebody else's. I haven't looked this month. Utah, all industries. Search. I think what I want is a service business, but like, isn't there a place where I can like type in the type of business I want? I don't know. Just go. Utah. Vegan candy business. Oh boy. Fine art. There was one that I had seen but what was it? I can't remember anymore. I was like really obsessed with the idea for like a week, and now I've forgotten about it. So maybe it actually wasn't that great of an idea. Next level, welcome back. What is best for trading? Well, the best, you're looking to like maximize your money over time for the amount of risk that you take on. You should just invest all of your money into an S&P 500 index fund. Yeah, you don't have to say it multiple times. There's only like 12 of us here. We see you. Okay, that's 2 ticks be passed. I don't like that. There's a point of control at 24. Oh, I remember what it was now. Oh, it's not on there anymore either, probably. It was a GLP-1 online reseller or something. Like basically it was a website that he sold GLP-1 stuff. And he was like, it was already making a couple $100,000 a year or something like that. And he didn't even have like any of the tech kind of stuff set up, like a real online. I was like, holy crap. Because that's an area with big growth right now, right? Mediterranean Grill. Laundromat. Let's see. 0 results. Oh, come on. Like, let me see, like, in other states. What do you tell about the Indian stock market? Good or bad? Okay, so the Indian stock market is a lot less developed. And so that means that there are actually going to be more opportunities for you to take advantage of structural inefficiencies in the market potentially. It would still be a lot of work, but like if you wanted to get into high frequency trading and that sort of a thing, then the Indian stock market might be a good place to play. Or even if you're doing a momentum strategy, Indian stock market might be a good place to play. But there are disadvantages to a less developed market as well. Like there's less liquidity, so you're not going to be able to size up as big. You're probably not going to have as many instruments. You might not be able to get the instruments or the diversity that you want. There's going to be like big risks with those companies. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But I've been seeing a lot of day traders coming out of India. But that kind of brings me back to this problem that like a lot of people, they come in to trading because they want to find a lucrative career. Their day job's not doing it for them, and day trading is something that like anybody can step in and do. And if that's you, then day trading is probably not a good direction to go. day trading is really for somebody that you're already like upper middle class, and you already have been very successful and have a lot of free capital and free time laying around to spend on day trading. In other words, the people that have the time and the interest don't have the capital, and the people that have the capital don't have the time. How can we find the best stock? Well, that is way too big of a question for my pay grade, man. So the first thing is that it depends very much a lot on you and like what your needs are, right? So I can do investment advising, but to do that I would have to like set a company up, and then you'd have to like sign a contract, and you'd have to give me all this information. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I should have set my stop up here. I'm gonna give up on that long. The 30 years is just getting crushed though, isn't it? But that's still kind of making me feel like that my instincts are correct. So I was testing that like, well, I'm seeing enough of a thing in the cumulative delta that it's long. I still feel a little bit iffy about it. So let's just try it sim. Well, now it's selling. But now I'm maybe thinking about, should I be turning around and selling it? Like I'm kind of thinking below the open, like right here. I should be selling it. Because that flow short has really come in, and like we're not getting any big I think cumulative delta is overrated. Well, I want to trade when I'm seeing trends in cumulative delta. I'm not necessarily trying to use it as an entry signal or anything, right? And like that's the thing. I guess the reason why I'm thinking about flipping around and going short is, okay, we don't see a clear flow, but we know that we're in a situation where you could get really strong flows. It's been 90 minutes. We haven't really seen that really strong flow come through. It's kind of tested on the upside, and we've had some breakouts, but I haven't really seen a strong persistent flow. And so maybe now is the time where they flip around and they test the other side, and you start to see the auction isn't going to go well again sort of thing. And then that could be the flow that drives us, is the selling from weak auctions. Thinking about doing gaming and trading stream at the same time. That's what I should do, is I should do gaming, huh? There's not really any games that I'd like to play right now, though. Anyway, so what were we talking about? What's the best stock for investment? So it would depend a lot on you and your qualifications. I can't give you that kind of advice online without signing a contract and you giving me all of your financial information, right? So, but if you want to learn about investing in stocks, what I would recommend is a book called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. And in that book, he talks about basically the things that you want to look for in a stock for you to determine which stocks are for you. And that includes all of the information that you need to analyze the company and make an informed decision about it. So that's what I'd do. So I'd go and read that if you're going to invest in individual stocks. Should I recenter it there? Oh yeah, so let's see here. I added a filter. Maybe laundry. Daycare business. Property management and resort property. Oh. Custom closets. body waxing salon. That's what I need to get into, guys, is body wax. I can be passionate about body waxing. What is this compounding? Use Google. That's a weird question to ask me. Next level. That's a weird question to ask me. Compounding means that, you know, if I invest $100 and I make 10% on it this year, I have $110. And then I make 10% on it again, I'm going to make another 10, but it's going to be 11. So I'm going to make $11 that next year. So then I'm going to have $121. And it just scales up, and eventually you get to where you're doubling your money over long periods of time, compounding. No, dog, I didn't let you out. Why are you out? Leave me alone. A property management company has grown in the top and bottom lines since their inception in 2017. In addition to the property management company, the resort, real estate, and 3 vacation rental homes are included. Oh, I'm liking this. I'm liking this. So they have a resort that includes golf carts, pool equipment, office furniture, commercial laundry equipment. No information about where it... Oh, wait. Open image. Oh, it just says resort and property management. Well, that is in southern Utah. So, no. That's going to be a no. I guess I have to start my own dry cleaners. Wait. No. Oh, okay. They're a laundry. That's the closest laundromat to me. And then down over in this area, they got some. Oh, there's the laundromat right there. Oh, I never noticed that place. 63 photos. For real? Okay. Still sitting where it was. Let's see here. Get a good VTuber model. Oh, there you go. Oh, that kind of gets me back to what I was thinking about yesterday. So remember we were talking about, okay, is YouTube going to be as profitable of a market sector, let's say, as it has been? And I'm kind of seeing a couple of reasons to say no, maybe it won't be. And something else happened yesterday that kind of piles on that, which was that Google was found to have a monopoly on search and advertising. So that could have a big impact. I can remember when Microsoft was found to have a monopoly on browsing and everything, and like the world really changed after that. It did. The internet very, very much changed after that decision. So does that come into a world that is as good for YouTube? Probably not. But I don't know if it would actually follow through to creator earnings. You know? Oh man, they did not trade into the 21.5 and stop out. They came back up. So that makes me question. Give it a little bit, see what they do here. The other thing is that streaming is just not what it was. You know, like streaming was getting really big, and then in 2020 it really got big, and in the years since then, it really seems to me like the popularity of streaming has declined. It's like there's this one small demographic of kids of a certain age that were really into it, and they follow the same set of streamers on Twitch, and like other creators aren't blowing up anymore. And that market has become fractured and smaller overall as well. So I'm not sure if streaming is a good space to get your foot in the door in right now, right? Whereas like selling weight loss drugs sounds like a great space to get into right now. You know what I mean? Are you going to do something on the internet? Even better if you're maybe a little fat right now. Start taking the GLP-1, get skinny, turn around and sell people on it, right? It's super buff and everything. Are they gonna come all the way back to 25? Oh, so I should note that the whole Tim Waltz thing is not confirmed yet. It's just CNN citing multiple sources. OpenAI co-founder leaves for AI rival Anthropic. Okay. The more I'm thinking about this, the more I'm like, yeah, I should make it dry cleaners. But we won't call it a dry cleaners. We'll call it a laundry service. Laundry service. Did you see the photo with Kamala and Michelle? No, I don't think so. I'm not sure what you're talking about. You know, interestingly enough, like thinking back on the past day, I don't really feel like I saw anything really too significant. Like, it felt like just really eerily quiet yesterday. I really think it was because people really thought that Iran was going to attack yesterday, and they didn't. Oh, did you see this? So one thing I did catch, I want to mention. Kind of speculative here, but the whole thing was that the president met with his full chief of staff and everything in the situation room, right? Like this is the room where like they actively watched when they found Obama and attacked him and Obama got killed and all that, right? The situation room. And they were basically saying like they're having a meeting in the situation room, and then they should be able to determine from there if Iran is going to attack them and what they're going to do about it and all that sort of thing. And they even said when they were doing it, and like that time came and went, and like we didn't hear anything. And so when we didn't hear anything, that's when I was kind of like, okay, doesn't sound like Iran is actually going to attack this evening, like some people thought. But the thing that happened that I thought was really curious was that Kamala Harris's motorcade left that meeting early, long before everybody else. So some people have been saying that like she got kicked out of the meeting, which would be like, ugh. If she really did get kicked out of the meeting, that would be a pretty big deal. Okay, let's see this picture. What's special about this picture you got here, Octavius? Wait, what? Where did that come from? Wait a second. Is this? I'm not seeing obvious signs of this, but this image seems AI generated to me. So is this like somebody made an AI image and they didn't even realize that they just said make a picture of Kamala Harris at the 2024 Democrat convention, and then it put in Michelle, not even thinking about, and then the person didn't even realize it. I don't think that that's a real picture. Like, I don't think that anybody has Michelle sticks, totems printed out or anything like that. And we know they already did the roll call. So Kamala Harris is already the official nominee. That is so weird, man. That is so weird. Wait, so what did people say about that? 8/4. So like 2 days ago. It's weird. I think it's just AI generated. It's somebody. Because that happened with pictures of a rally too. Since somebody posted a picture from this was supposed to be at the rally, and then people looked into the image and they realized that it was AI generated. So now it's like, now they actually are using AI to create real propaganda. Already happening. That's a problem, isn't it? I need to come over here and keep an eye on this stuff. Well, they haven't quite triggered where my stop would be yet. There's a seller's cost basis. They're like right on the seller's cost basis right now. But given the way that they're behaving right now, I don't see the dash for lower thing coming through yet. Like, I think that would have already came through. Doesn't mean that it couldn't happen, but it would be like something else than what I was expecting. Right now, it really looks like it's a random market that is just bouncing between the cost basis. Basically, the market makers pinging it back and forth across each other. I kind of zoned out there for a second. Really seems... No, by the way, I haven't heard a thing this morning from the news squawk. It's just like the market's waiting on something and nothing's happening today. I guess the S&P 500 has staged a little bit of a rally. Most other instruments aren't really doing anything. The Japanese yen seems to be pretty closely aligned with the treasuries at the moment. We did see that steepening much earlier in this session, but that's kind of all flattened down. It's just sideways. Oh, image description. Vice President Kamala Harris at the 2008 Democratic National Convention before Michelle Obama's speech. They had signs that said Michelle back in 2008. Okay. Still weird. Still weird. I tell you what, so this is something we haven't talked about very much, and I don't know if there's a whole lot we can say about it, but like there's been this shift in Democrat messaging from Republicans are fascist to Republicans are, quote, weird. And Reddit seems to just be so enamored with this. They think, oh, it's so smart and clever and everything. And I'm just kind of sitting here like, oh, I really don't think that's going to help you. Like especially, I kind of feel like that if anybody, would be used to, or rather inoculated from being called weird, it would be like Republicans and independents. Like if somebody came on the stream and was like, Seth, you're weird. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the whole effing point here, guys. Because if I was just like everybody else, then what would I be bringing to the table here for you, right? This is just, it's interesting that, I mean, I understand why they would think that it's an effective tactic. And you know, it's a tactic, you know. I don't think that it's going to be the best tactic. I don't think it's going to win them the election or anything like that. But it's a tactic. Well, what I don't get is why Reddit is so enamored with it. Is it because these guys on Reddit, they've always felt like outcasts because they're Redditors, and now for the first time they feel like they're the cool kids, you know, like they're the mean girls. They get to call other people weird. I'm the cool kid. You're weird. That otherwise I just don't understand why Reddit in particular is so enamored with that idea. And there's a bunch of threads here on Reddit about funded trader firms. I'm seeing more and more people talk about it and like question it and be like, you know, I don't think that funded trader programs are very good. Where can I find a trader to copy? Is that like a serious thread? I think we're just gonna get a sleepy session here today, guys. I guess the trade would have been up here at the highs when I was kind of thinking like, okay, maybe I can go for it to sell it. So I took, you know, I was testing the waters long at exactly when the real trade was going short. So, but when there's nothing going on, that's what will tend to happen to me anyways, right? So I'll go for a breakout and then it doesn't happen. I'm actually starting to see signs that they're starting to push a little bit harder on the downside here. Like they did go past my spot, right? Well, I don't have to put a trade in on it, but let's just see. Maybe they do break the lows. I'm like, what the heck is that rumbling? It's a child on the treadmill. I have one of those like walking treadmills. And my children are the most heavy-footed, my stepchildren rather, are the most heavy-footed people I've ever met. Like they just walk around the house like they're falling forward all the time. I don't think you guys can hear it though, yeah. Yeah, no, I think we're good. I can feel it in my seat though. Seeing a little bit of a jump in Bitcoin here. Hmm. Well, leaked documents show Nvidia scraping a human lifetime of videos per day to train AI. Ugh. Yeah, there's a lot of data to do this stuff, that's for sure. The greatest trick Gen Z ever played was convincing boomers that millennials came up with OK Boomer. I'm proud that they will outlast us. Well played, you savage. No, I don't think that boomers believe that millennials came up with it. But okay. Well, even on Reddit here, man, it's kind of too quiet. It's kind of too quiet. As soon as we let our guard down, it's just gonna like a whoosh, and the big headline is gonna come through. I just know it. Well, one thing I think I need to keep in mind here is that the treasuries are still pretty illiquid. So like I'm seeing this range from all the way up to 21.5. So instead of getting like 2 tick ranges, we're getting like 3 or 4 tick ranges because of the lack of liquidity. And that might be making the charts a little bit more difficult to read. Not that that's going to tell you which direction it's going to go, but like just to help you understand what the current situation is, it might seem like the volatility might deceive in how actually uneventful the current action is. See, like they keep hinting like they're gonna go, but it hasn't actually broken yet. This might be one of those ones where when it does break, it's because of a correlation or something that pulls it down, and it just like kind of goes without a whole lot of fanfare. Yeah, what's Elon Musk going on here about? In 2030 for making a Facebook comment that the UK government didn't like. The irony is that Facebook doesn't even exist in 2030. Oh, okay. That's a meme. Greg IP. If there had been no SOM rule, I doubt we'd be talking about the recession now. 3 of the indicators the NBER uses to determine if we're in a recession were shrinking prior to triggering of the SOM rule in 90, 01, and 08. All are growing now. Remember, the SOM rule is a coincident and not leading indicator, and it merely correlates with recession. It doesn't define it. Open umbrellas correlate with rain, but if you want to know if it's raining, it's still better to stand outside than to count umbrellas. Current data may be revised weaker. In 1990 pre-recessions, these indicators were more mixed, though still more negative than today's. Most important, trajectory matters, and while I really doubt we're in a recession now, I'm less sure we'll stay out of one. The fall in equity market is the sort of tightening in financial conditions that both predicts and causes recession. So the risks have clearly grown. I think the Fed still has time and means to short circuit the recession process, though. Okay, that's a very interesting analysis. I'm glad I ran into that one. Yeah. Josh Shapiro should change parties. Pro-Israel candidates are welcome in the GOP. There you go. Larry Summers doesn't think thinks yesterday's drop is unlikely to be the beginning of a significant event in financial history. Yeah. I really, it really seems to me, oh, by the way, we did break the low there. It really seems to me like in order for this to really become a thing, you need another shoe to drop, and it's not dropping. Like, I'm not seeing some other institution is now stressed and dumping because of what happened with the carry trade yesterday and the day before and all of that. And so, like, if that's the case, then, it is already to where you should be selling volatility, essentially, and going short the treasuries. And the move today overall has been sell. Well, at least during our time, the correct move was sell. Cumulative delta is still super iffy today, so I don't think that I'm gonna really get a good trade. I think that, I was getting the beginnings of one on the long side, but it, like, as soon as it started, it fizzled out and turned it down. So there, it's looking a little better now. I'm seeing some selling in the yen. The S&P 500 is taken off. Dollar slides as demand for safety ebbs. It kind of feels like that the walls are collapsing and that the panic is kind of subsiding. Of course, sometimes it's like, oh, the panic subsides, and then like 2 days later, something else happens, and then the shoe does come. r/stock market. Schwab needs to shut down. Some people were very upset that their broker did not handle the volatility yesterday very well. I got to tell you, if your plan is, hey, if things start going south, I can just sell it and get out, that's a bad plan, because that's usually the hardest time to get out. And from a retail trader perspective, I know everybody wants to get conspiracy theory about it, but that's just when the computer systems are going to be the most strained. And if the broker that you work for hasn't been keeping their infrastructure up very well, isn't spent, is cheaping out on the infrastructure, then you're not going to be able to transact. Well, while we did make a new low, it was only, it hasn't really extended a whole lot. And I'm really not seeing that selling coming into the 10-year in particular. Seems like it's still really more the 30-year dragging us down. But with that, I would expect to see like steepening, and I'm really not seeing it steepen too much. I mean, it did 2 ticks there, but I'm not. It's still like within the range, so yeah. I don't think that the move is done, but that just kind of tells you a little bit about what's going on. Like earlier, I thought, okay, they test the upside, nothing happened. Maybe they test the downside, and then we start to get bigger flows on the downside because of the auction and so forth, right? But like that didn't really happen. Like we are pushing on the downside, but I think it's just the market making kind of shoving around a little bit. Because it's not, I'm not really getting that persistent imbalance short, and the drop is pretty, it's a little choppy, and like they'll make a break and then go sideways for a long time. Okay, there's 17. So I guess if I was short, I wouldn't necessarily be out yet, but I would kind of have to be a little bit worried about it, because I don't know if I'm really getting a strong enough flow that's really going to persist, right? I don't think that you'd have to be too worried about a counterflow, like reversing it though. You could probably put it like let's say that I was short from 22, which is where I had the thing, right? It's where I had my order and I gave up on it. I could have my stop at like 20. Yeah. Stop at like 20, which was like the low. Like as long as they stay below the previous low, we can probably try and let it run. Because while it's kind of going sideways right now, I am still concerned about the auction. I'm still concerned that the auction could be bad and that you get selling on the auction. And so if I'm going to trade that, I would want to hold it until the auction. And the big order at 16, which you would expect, but they're kind of flattening out just ahead of that again. Am I seeing the yen fall with this? Kind of, but the decline in the yen doesn't seem as strong. I am seeing gold fall with it. That's kind of odd. Let's not say odd, but not quite what I expected. Okay, so there's 16. How much time do I got left? 5 minutes? You think that we can extend much further beyond 16 in 5 minutes? I kind of doubt it with the way that this has been going, but I don't know. I kind of feel like that I had an okay feel for where this was going to go. Like after my initial feeler was bad and I kind of was like, yeah, I don't think this is a good session for me. But you know, I was saying, yeah, if it breaks down, we could see a push of the lows, and you know, that ended up being correct. But like, are you really getting paid for waiting for all of that? Just, it seems a little, and maybe now there is a chance for a little bit of a bounce too. Of course, the other side of it is, again, maybe the auction's going to be really bad and there's just like way more selling to come. Plus, the S&P 500 is turning risk on. That's another big part. It's like if everything's hunky-dory and that's like the worst of it, then Treasuries probably have to come back considerably. Like they probably have to retrace this big day here back to like 27.5. So otherwise, that's just a little bit. That's a little too rich, right? We're not going to have a recession and everything's fine. That's a little too rich. And you know, something that I think is really important to note here, like looking at the flow reports and everything, was that all of the desks were saying that they were seeing a lot of systematic strategies get in on things. Like all of the momentum funds were moving and everything. But like the long only funds were holding still. Like they weren't panicking and selling and stuff like that. So it seems to me that like from the fundamental direction of looking at things, that these guys think, okay, there was a change in everything, but we still think everything's going to be okay. And then meanwhile, all of the technical signals are getting triggered. But like, are they really doing a whole lot here today? I don't really feel like that they are. So it could be that they those guys just get screwed up, right? And but nothing happens. Should recenter here too, by the way. Switch back over to here. Interesting. I'm seeing a jump in the Japanese yen, but the treasuries aren't really going with it. So that gets even more interesting if we're concerned about the auction. Well, it's time for me to get going. So I guess we'll just have to see how it, come back tomorrow and see where we're at. I'm concerned about the auction though. We have more auctions this week, so like it could just like retrace and retrace, right? But I'm gonna get going, guys. Good. We had fun, even though it was kind of a quiet session. It's really crazy how you know when it is summer, sometimes that when you have a volatility spike, it can quiet down really, really quickly too. So, but who knows? But we're definitely going to have some more volatility later in the year, right? So, talk to you tomorrow. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.